it disappears, so it becomes like a pickup item. But there's more you can do to customize that pickup experience. Let's take a look. So here we are in this empty scene. Well, not so empty, because in the last video I made this little UI where I showed you guys how to make a count up timer. When it reaches a certain number, it does something. So this platform here would start to animate up as soon as the timer reaches 10. If you guys remember that, awesome. If you don't remember that and that's something that interests you, then check out my video that came out before this one. Now then, while we're in here, let's go ahead and delete all the actions and all the UI arrangements, all the parts, and then all the variables. And we're gonna start from scratch. Let's go. Delete, 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 bye, and bye. All the actions and all the resources gone. And now we're gonna go ahead and create our first little item that's gonna be served as our pickup item. Now here's a couple of reasons why you should subscribe to this channel, because if you're looking for any clarity on anything of what these components do, note that I will be going through every single component in here. Also, when it comes to actions, I will be going through every possible trigger that you can do along with the combinations of actions. It only takes time. So do subscribe and hold on for those, because whatever you're looking for will eventually be made. I promise you that. Anyways, back to the tutorial. Now I've created this little box here, which I'm going to use as our little pickup item. You can find coins and other cool stuff and gems in here. But for the simplicity of this tutorial, I'm going to be using this cube. And so when we pick up this cube, we're also going to have a UI that will count up and keep track of how much we pick up, which is the goal of the tutorial. So first thing you're going to need to do, my friends, is to come over here in the information section of the cube you have selected, and then click is pickup. Doing that alone makes it so that the box disappears when you touch it. Let's hit play, and you see what I mean. So the box is over here, and watch when I touch it. It disappears, so it becomes like a pickup item. But there's more you can do to customize that pickup experience. Let's take a look. So with the cube selected, we did check the is pickup checkbox. But what we didn't do is create that pickup settings. In a sense, we didn't customize it. So let's go ahead and customize that right now. First thing you have here is the respawn. So you can have it respawn in a certain amount of seconds. I'm going to put 5 seconds. So I'm saying that this box will respawn in about 5 seconds. Now for the pickup, there could be a sound and a cool little spark or animation. That's what this drop down here is, and I have none in there. So first thing is to hit create. You normally see this throughout like the settings. Every time when you go to a drop down, you want to like put something in somewhere. There's a lot of none, and then there's always a little create button next to it. So keep that in mind. You can always create whatever it is that should be in this box when you see that button. So we're gonna hit create, and it brings us to this other window right here where we can really customize that pickup experience. So first thing is the ID. We have all kinds of stuff up here. The type of pickup it is at the very top. So if it's a weapon, we're going to give it all the ID, the amount of ammo, the max, all that cool stuff. This is not going to be a weapon. In my case, it's going to be just like a little coin or in-game currency that you pick up and it increases on the UI. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to select something like miscellaneous would work. This health is if you're making like an health pack, and then of course ammo if you're making ammo for like a game with weapons in there. So miscellaneous is what we need. So we're going to go ahead and click miscellaneous. Then here now is the effect. Again, you see the none, and then the create. You can create well, you can choose from a number of effects that you want to play when it picks up. Now when you collect, there's a sound that can be played. Let's test out a few of these. This little chime here works for me for now, so I'm going to go ahead and choose it. And then you have right here the volume of how high that chime is going to be. So I've selected the sound it's going to make when I pick it up, and now the volume of how high that sound is going to be. Next, I will go ahead and find myself a effect, a collect effect. So this part, when you touch it, I'll hit create, which then brings us into yet another area, and you can have a name for it here. I'm going to call it pickup FX. The life span in seconds, so how long does the effect live? I'm going to tell it to be maybe like a second and a half. And then you can have children effects. So in a sense, you can stack multiple effects on top of each other. So you have your child effect. There's audio, which I'm not going to do anything with audio because I'm already playing a little tone when I pick up the pickup object. So I'm just going to play around with the visual. So there is fog, there is a sprite sheet if you're using a sprite sheet that you can play. So you can do like the 2D effects. And I'm going to go ahead in the image here and I'm going to choose an effect off my own. Let's like, there's already some sprite sheets in here, which is cool. This is an example of a sprite sheet. And I'm going to choose maybe this, which is like an explosion effect, I guess. And then I will just select sprite sheet. And I think I'm going to go with the, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 rows. Yeah, so I'll have it just, as you can see here with the sprite sheet, it plays basically boom, 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 like so. So there is 4 rows, and I'll go ahead and leave it at the default 4 rows. So it's going to be like maybe an animation. Loop, nope, I'm just going to tell it to hold at the end, all right? And then, yeah, I think that is about it. You can find your effects in your resource, by the way. So this is the effect, this is the pickup. You see that effect is already linked to it. So if you have other effects that you've made, you can easily just find them in your drop down, just like so. Now let's give this a test. Let's see how it looks when we touch the cube. We'll go over, and there is the little explosion. Now we're gonna wait about 5 seconds. Boom, there it comes back. We're gonna try it again. And there it is. Okay, nice little 2D sprite effect. And after 5, or was it 3? I think it's 5 seconds, it comes right back. Awesome. So guys, our pick up effect is all set. It's now time to hook this up with a UI. Now to create the UI, to keep track of how many of these we're picking up, that way we can increase that UI. Did you hear about the guy who created the knock knock joke? Ha! He got the Nobel Prize. Get it? Because no bell, because he's always knocking instead of. So we're going to click the plus button here to create the part. We're going to start by creating the part first. Now with the part, you still have the option here in the position to kind of like move the part around and position it on the screen where you want. But like I said before in my other tutorials, this is really not needed because the UI arrangement lets you put it where you want. So just kind of, just put it somewhere and then make it look how you want it to look, and then we'll take care of the position in a different part of this. So first thing is I'm going to go into the properties and just make a few changes. So for the UI part, I've gone ahead and I have customized it, gave it a nice couple of colors that I like, and then changed the name to collection count. And the text inside, I've just put 3 zeros for now. But don't worry about the text inside, because that's going to be overwritten with a variable that will be changing based on how many times we pick up our item. So let's create our UI arrangement that will place it on the screen and where to put it on the screen. Of course, in the arrangement, we're going to go ahead and create our new UI arrangement, and I'm just going to call this the counter, just counter for now. Now right here where it says plus, we need to add what part we want this UI arrangement to occupy. So we say count part. And this is where we can then position it where we want on the screen. I'm going to keep it in the center of the screen, which is 0.5. And then I'm just going to move this up towards the top like so. I think that's fine. Now for the data of what's going to basically occupy the number, which is the text, we need a variable, okay? So we need to give it a data saying, hey, use this data for the information that's going in the fields for the text. So let's create ourselves a variable. We haven't created that yet, so let's create ourselves a variable, new variable, and I'll call this our, let's just call it pickup items. That's the variable name. The variable will remain a number, okay? Variable will remain a number, and it will start at the value 0. So now we have our variable, pickup items, we have our UI part, and then we have our arrangement, which is right there, okay? So now in our arrangement, now we told it, use our pickup, use our collection count part, we can then assign that data. Notice as soon as I create a new data here, the text disappears because now I am telling it what I want that text to be. I can indeed put whatever I want here and it overwrites it. So I'm going to tell it not to use my random text here, but instead use a variable, and that variable will be the pickup items. So right now that pickup items is 0, as you can see right here, which means when I hit play, this hashtags will turn to 0 if everything is done right. Keep in mind, I haven't created any action to show my UI. So if I hit play, there will not be any UI displayed. But in the back end, at least, it should have turned this to 0. Let's go ahead now and set up the action to make all of this come together and work. Now it's time to create the action that's going to basically glue everything together and have a nice working system here. But first, how about a quick recap, right? We create the item, we click the is pickup, then we create our little pickup and we customize it, which created a nice little effect, and of course the pickup itself. I didn't name this, so it stays as new pickup. Then of course we create our UI part. We create the arrangement to tell it where to go and what data to use as the the values. And then of course we create our variable, which is going to be that value for that UI. We're all caught up. Let's make the action. Click here and we're going to make action. Action number 1 is going to be the show UI action. Let's create another action before we go on to the triggers and actions. So we're going to go ahead and click the plus button again to create a new action. Another thing you can do is if you're creating another variable or another component for something that already exists, you could right click on the title of those elements, such as variable. You right click and you can create a new variable. You right click on UI part and create a new GUI part. So to create a new action, I can click here and choose new action, or since I already have an action, I can click on the action and create a new action this way as well. Just a little shortcut in case you're looking for it. Next, I'm going to call this one now increase count. So this is going to be the one that increases the UI when I pick up the item. This one is simply just going to show the UI when the game starts. So let's do that. Trigger is basically when the game starts. We call that join. And then the action is to show our arrangement that holds the UI. So we go to GUI, show, arrangement, and what arrangement are we looking for? We call this one counter. So in the drop down here, we should find counter. Excellent. Let's hit play and see if it works. Perfect. And there it is with the 0. So that works perfectly fine. However, as soon as we touch the box, of course, it plays a sound, does what it's supposed to do, but our coins or our counter does not increase. Let's hook that up next. Back into the editor we go. Now the increase count. This one is going to increase the counter by simply increasing the variable. If you remember, the variable here is what's being displayed on the UI because we've set that up properly. So all we need to do is increase that variable when we pick up the coin. So let's check it out. There's a couple ways we can do this. If you guys remember, there are tags. So we can tag the box and say this box is, we'll call this box PIK, pick. Alright, and so in the action, we can simply do a collision. So object collide or actor collide also works. So we can do avatar collide. And what is the element that he's colliding with? It's going to be that pick, that little box right there. And when he does, we can simply come over here and look for variables because we want to increase a variable. down here, change variable. And what variable is it? We called hours. Pick items. Let's find that variable. And then what do we want to do? Add or subtract? It's going to be add. Value? Yes, 1. Okay, let's check it out, see if it works. Now we hit play. We'll go over here and grab this box. And you can see our counter went up by 1. Wait for the respawn. And we're going to grab it again. The counter went up by 2. There you have it. And that's it for this tutorial. So if it was educational, definitely leave a comment, let me know. And as always, keep modding. I'll catch you in the next one.